Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so today is going to be an interesting topic. I'm doing the top 5 most mysterious or haunting books to ever exist. So this is going to go in my order with my opinions because it's my fucking channel. So we're going to start with 5 and go up to number 1. Stick with us and see. This whole entire segment is going to be factual as shit. So feel free to go ahead and Google anything you'd like that I say, because I've done my research, honey, and my shit is on point. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Okay, so number 5 is one that everybody's heard of. It's called the Voynich Manuscript. It's straight up the most absolutely unbreakable code ever. It's written completely in a text no one can read, no one can understand. Archaic, no one has history of it ever existing. Long ago, it died out. It's dubbed the most mysterious manuscript to have ever existed in the history of mankind. So it's full of strange words and pictures. Allegedly contains a secret message. It was composed in northern Italy during the Renaissance period, so in around 1600s. And then, long time down the road, a homeboy named Wilfred Voynich, who is a Polish book dealer, purchased the book in the early 20th century and made the world aware of it. Okay, so this book has been studied literally by every cryptographer this fucking side of the Black Plague. Like, no joke. Anyone who has ever said they could beat a code ever has tried to crack this code, including the US government, and they couldn't do it. So all that anyone factually really knows about it is that characteristically, the characters of the language are historically European. And according to the vellum, which was carbon dated testing in the University of Arizona, it was tested in 2009, so it's dated to have been created somewhere between 1404 and 1438. I mean, that's a pretty small window considering it's been here a long fucking time. So you don't know exactly who wrote it or the exact day it was written, but at least we know, like, you know, the first couple decades of when it could have been written. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you, a shitload of historical weirdos have owned this thing. The first one being a guy named George Baresh, who is an obscure alchemist from the 16th and 17th century, and he's the original owner of the book. He's not claiming that he wrote it by any means, but he's the one that first vocalized that he had a weird manuscript that he wanted people to look at. And that guy was a prophetic weirdo, like straight up. And he had it until he died. And upon his death, he willed it over to his homie Jan Marseille. So he was the rector of the University of Prague, which is like the director of the university in Prague, way back in the day. And he was like, what the fuck is this? He was basically like, fuck this shit, and sent it to a Jesuit scholar, homie of his, name, get this name, okay, I had to write it down because it's so fucking crazy. Athanasius Kirchner. Okay, now I know his last name's Kirchner, but honey, I mangled that first name. It's literally Atheanatious. Fucking what? So we're just going to call him Dr. Kirchner. Okay, so Dr. Kirchner from the College of Romano, he had it for the next 200 years, basically. Like, he had it in his college library for a good long-ass time. Then one weirdo snuck it out, and it was passed on from one weirdo to the next. And then once it was seized by the Italian government, it was then transferred to the private library of a homie named Petrus Bex. That was around 1912, and then he sold it because he couldn't figure it out, because it turns out no one can fucking figure it out. So once he got tired of it, he sold it in 1912 to old Wilfred Voynich, the one who ended up taking its namesake, you know, who gave it its name. So that guy had it for a long ass time until he died, and he willed it to his wife. And the wife's name was Ethel, and she kept it long and hard until she fucking died. And once that broad died, she willed it to her bestie named Anne. She didn't know what to fucking do with it, so she sold it to an antique book dealer who was also historically a total fucking wacko. His name was Hans P. Krauss, and that was in 1961. He held on to it for a couple decades. He couldn't sell it. He tried to sell it as best he could. And then eventually he was like, fuck this thing. And then went ahead and donated it to the University of Yale. So it was in Yale University in 1969, and that's where literally every scholar on the planet got their turn trying to crack the code. So it got hella studied. It's got 240 pages of hella nonsense. Everything from, you know, extremely descript drawings of weird unknown animals and plants, all the way down to the endless eons and eons and eons of paragraphs of jibber jabber nonsense like that nobody can understand because it's all in an unknown language. So the book falls into 6 sections as far as anyone can tell. It's going to be botanical, astronomical, biological, cosmological, pharmaceutical, and then last but not least, recipes, because you need some good recipes. It contains 112 drawings of strange, weird-ass characters, like a horse with no legs, or maybe the legs are made out of flowers. I don't know, I can't fucking tell. You be the judge. What people actually think that it is, but they don't know, I mean, it's just all speculation. What they think it is a pharmacopoeia of drugs of the day, like, you know, along with some artistic freedoms and creative renderings of animals is basically what people think it is. But nobody knows for sure because nobody can decipher it. So that's why it sits at number 5 at the world's most mysterious books. All right, number 4 is a good one. Number 4 is called the Book of Saigon, otherwise known as the Book That Kills or the Book of Saigon. So what it is a 16th century book on magic and witchcraft and spells that was thought to have been lost for literally centuries up until 2 rando manuscripts were found in the British Library in 1990 of all places and times. So what makes this book particularly more strange than any other random book about spells? Well, this one was written in an up and down fashion and a grid of coded letters. So it's another one of those code books that nobody can break. So this one old dude named John Dee spent his entire fucking life trying to break the code. Like literally every waking moment he'd wake up and try to break this code. And as you can imagine, way back in the day, and I'm talking way back, like 14, 15, 1600s, he was going fucking crazy. He was getting frustrated. I mean, he was losing his shit. And he said, fuck it, I'm asking the devil. So he decided to ask the Dark Lord for some help. He went ahead and summoned the angel Uriel. And basically, Uriel told him that the book came into existence when Adam ended the paradise, you know, on the world, and it could only be read and or understood by the Archangel Michael. So legend has it, to this day, no one can read it. And if you do in fact decipher it, you'll never live to fucking tell anyone about it, because the legend has it that you will die like really quick. Some have lasted up to 2.5 years, but usually you die pretty quick. So if you do figure it out, have fun dying, because legend has it you're gonna croak. So that's number 4. You fuck that book. Go read something else, y'all. Go read Babysitter's Club. Fuck that book. Number 3. All right, number 3 is a good one. It's called the Grand Grimoire. Okay, so what that is, some people have called it the Red Dragon or the Gospel of Satan. It's fucking old. And like, when I tell you old, I mean like ancient, like centuries and centuries and centuries old. So, you know, it's thought to come with a power that is pretty massive. And of course, that comes with a pretty massive price. You know, your soul. So the book was written by a very seedy character called the Aureus of Phoebes. Of course, you know, in fashion, this person conveniently claimed that while he was penning the book, he was possessed by Satan himself. It's actually said to be one of the darkest occult books known to man, like ever written. And to add to its legitimacy of a radness, the fucking Vatican got a hold of it and keeps it in the Vatican vaults. So you can't even fucking see it. No one knows technically what's written in it. There have been like bits and pieces leaked here and there, but nobody knows of its entirety because the fucking Vatican keeps that shit under lock and key. So with the fucking Vatican's ass stashing away down in their mysterious, awesome shit basement, you know, full of super Christ ass evil bullshit, you know, it's crazy. Who knows what's in that thing? It was said to have been written in 1512. And it contains extremely detailed information on how to summon specific demons and how to raise the dead. And to add insult to injury, anyone who reads it will instantly die, allegedly. And that's why the Vatican says they're keeping it in their vaults for the public safety, of course. So if you read it, you're offering your soul to the devil. So thanks to the Vatican, your soul is saved. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you guys don't think that the fucking Vatican is some fucking witchcraft, this witch right here is sitting here telling you that you're full of shit. Because just think about that. Everything about it is witchcraft, but what do I know? I'm just a normal person. I don't know. I don't know anything, right? Okay, so number 2 is a classic. And you guys are going to know what I'm talking about because it's the Necronomicon. Okay, so this book has a lot of AKAs, so get ready. A hella AKAs. So here we go. It's called the Necronomicon. It's called the Book of the Dead. It's called the Book of the Names of the Dead. It's called the Book of the Laws of the Dead. It's called the Book of Dead Names. I'm not even making this shit up, I swear to God. It's got like 40 names. It's called the Knower of the Laws of the Dead. Now, this crazy-ass book contains information of you know, all things having to do with death, all things having to do with things that are evil, all things having to do with raising the dead, keeping the dead to stay dead, spells on how to make people die faster, spells on how to get them to go to hell, all kinds of fucking shit. Also, to add to its authenticity, it was written by a very famous fucking person who was said to have gone insane due to the penning of this exact book. And by that, I know everybody else out there that is pretty affluent on either horror or horror writing knows who wrote the Necronomicon. But in case you're new here on the internet, his name is H.P. Lovecraft. And he came up with some amazing, amazing works in his day. Okay, as you know, H.P. Lovecraft is a writer of, you know, science fiction, fiction, horror fiction. So it technically is allegedly supposed to be, you know, a work of fiction, but where the twist is H.P. Lovecraft says it came to him in a dream. So maybe it was a vision, who knows? He wrote it down the instant he woke up. So like he woke up and he was like, holy shit, that was a fucking weird ass dream. And he wrote the Necronomicon, literally, like sitting in bed with a pen in his hand. Now whether any of that's true or not, I don't know, but I mean, I choose to believe it because it sounds badass and sounds like something he would do. I do know that he's on a level of badass that I'll never fucking understand. So I'm just gonna go with the story. So the book, of course, contains all kinds of rad amazing art of demonic creatures and spells and all kinds of amazing things. It also contains one of his most iconic characters, named Cthulhu Mythos. So if you don't know who Cthulhu is, I mean, come on. Where have you been living? You've been in a basement for 40 years? Cthulhu fucking rules. So if you don't know who Cthulhu is, then I suggest you stop this video right now, go to Google and Google Cthulhu and read up a little bit, and then come back and have a seat once you learn about Cthulhu. I can let you know that as a character, as Cthulhu as a, you know, an entity or a being, is said to have been so evil, so vile, that it's almost impossible for the human mind to wrap around the concept of how absolutely horrible he was. And it's said that if you get a glimpse of how gnarly he truly was, you go insane. So in the dream, he claims that he was told the story of the Necronomicon reading from the Book of the Dead, which was the cover of it. It was bound in human skin, which is gnarly altogether, to say the least. But this dude was a gnarly dude. This homie's name was the Mad Arad Abdul Al-Hazard. So his name is that he's mad. So he's the Mad Arad Abdul Al-Hazard. That's fucking crazy. So this dude, Mr. Al-Hazard, decides to come to H.P. Lovecraft in a dream and literally read him the Necronomicon straight, you know, from the horse's mouth. And he woke up and wrote it down, and it's fucking crazy. So you can get it on the internet. Check it out. It's a good read. Number 1, the Codex Gigas, otherwise known as the Devil's Bible. Okay, so this book is fucking insane. I don't even know where to start on it. You can literally go see it right now if you were in Sweden. You can go to university and check it out. It's fucking amazing. It's right there on display, hanging out, being badass. It's huge. It's like the size of a fucking coffee table. It's massive. So the story goes, in 1648, the 30-Year War was finally ending, and the Swedish army robbed the shit out of Prague. And with all of their fucking crap that they had robbed, all their loot, they get back home, and in all their shit they stole was this massive-ass book, otherwise known as the Codex Gigas. So, the Devil's Bible, if you're a YouTube buff, you've heard all about it. I watch all kinds of strange shit all the time on here, so I've been knowing about the Codex Gigas for a long ass time. But if you're new, please allow me to explain. So the Codex Gigas is a story as old as time, meaning a monk had betrayed his vows, so of course, in religious fashion, they condemn him to death because that seems legit. That's what you do. You kill someone. Yeah, sure, you kill someone. And you never kill anybody like quickly. No, it's got to be a long, painful, shitty religious death. So they brick this guy up in a room. You know, they brick the door up and in a room with no food and expect him to starve to death. This all occurs at some point in the 12th century. They've tested the vellum of the pages and gathered that it came from the 12th century. So as he's pinning literally everything he knows about the human race, you know, he's starting to feel shitty, he's starting to feel real bad. He realizes he's about to fucking die. It's his last night. He's on his deathbed and he didn't know what to do because he's not done with the book. So he's like, fuck, I guess I gotta get the devil to come finish it. Because that's what you do. So he summons the devil and asks, so as the story goes, in exchange for finishing the book, he wants his soul. And because the monk feels so strongly about the story being told, he agrees. So the devil finishes the book himself in one night. So the book originally had 320 pages, but for some reason some asshole somewhere tore out the last 10 pages. So we'll never know what the last 10 pages say, which fucking sucks because that would be totally badass to know. But someone somewhere has got the last 10 pages of the Codex Gigas. And so it has all the shit you'd imagine, good and bad about mankind. Diseases, you know, famine, plagues, and wrath, you know, good things, bad things, all of that shit. Details about demonic entities. It's got this giant depiction of the devil, like a whole, like, drawn portrait. Like, it's so badass. You can check it out. It's totally badass. It's fucking robo badass. I suggest everyone look it up. It's worth a read. Also, there's literally so many facts on this book that I could have made an entire video that's an hour long on just this book. That's how much fucking literature there is on this book. So if you were going to Google any of these books, I would suggest the Codex Gigas and the Grand Grimoire. Those are my two favorites. So I hope you enjoyed this video for today, and thanks for coming to my channel and checking shit out. All right, so that was the top 5 most mysterious books ever to have been written or found. Peace.